What is going on, my fellow zombie slayers? It is LB here, and welcome back to a brand new Call of Duty Zombies weapon comparison. In this series, we do what literally everybody else does here on YouTube, and take two different weapons and compare for things like ammo, damage, reload time, and RPM. And in the end, I give you my personal opinion on which one I think is better. Disclaimer! Ooh! A lot of this information I couldn't find on the wiki where I usually go for my information, and I checked elsewhere on the Steam pages. I just couldn't find some of the statistics for these weapons, specifically the firebow. So a lot of the stats come from personal experience, and I will relay that back to you once I get to the statistics that were based on personal experience. Without further ado, let's just jump right in. So starting off with the fire staff does 1,000 damage at 150 at max range. Now I was going to explain range in this video, but I think it deserves its own video in itself. I'll probably upload that sometime after Black Ops 4, explaining what it is in multiplayer, campaign, and in zombies. Because it really is an interesting factor in Call of Duty, and it really does deserve its own video. Moving on, the ammo for this thing has 9 in the chamber and 90 in reserves. The reload time is 3 seconds, and this is one of the things I couldn't find online. I simply put it into Sony Vegas, cut where it started the animation, and cut where it ended the animation, and it came out to be 3 seconds exactly. Now the fire staff is going to be semi-automatic just like every other staff except for the lightning staff, and RPM is going to be 125. Now again, another thing I couldn't find for the staffs was the RPM. So what I did was I took the weapon that I know off the top of my head the RPM of, which is the Shiva, and it does about 250 RPM, and I figured comparing the sounds, the staffs do about half of that. I think they only could go up from there. I really don't think the RPM is going to be anything lower than 125. Again, I could be a bit off. I could be about 10 to 20 RPM off, but again, I couldn't find anything that said otherwise. And just like every other staff, it's going to have no recoil. Now what I mean by this is that sure, it's going to shoot up, but by the time you're ready to shoot another shot, it's going to be right back where you had it. Upgraded, this thing becomes the Kakasuchi's blood, and I really hope I'm saying that right, probably not though. But the damage upgraded is going to be 30,000 for the charge shot and 4,000 for the single shot. Now again, I stated this in the previous videos, but the staffs, I couldn't find the damage for the single shots, so what I did was I found out when this thing stopped killing zombies, which was around round 26. And about round 25 to round 27, the zombies' health jumps from 2,000 to 6,000. So I figured cut the difference in half, and it does about 4,000. Now it could do a little bit more, it could do a little bit less. Again, this stat wasn't anywhere to be found, and I really, again, I'm not going to be able to go into the code simply because I don't know what that is going to do to my game. I don't know if I'm accidentally going to delete something and delete a key feature of the game. I just don't want to ruin my game. Anyways, moving on, the ammo is going to be 12 in the chamber and 120 in reserves. Upgraded, again, this thing gets a charge ability. Now in my opinion, this is going to be the second worst staff you can possibly get. However, it is the best staff to get for killing panzers. If you're not trying to save the pistol, the Boomhilda, or not trying to get the ray gun out of the box, because we all know how difficult that could be, this is the best wonder weapon, or best weapon, to kill the panzer on high rounds. Moving on to the firebow, already we ran into a problem. I couldn't find much for the damage, but I found that the single shots do good about round 23, round 22 is when it starts to become a 2-shot, and the charge shot is good up until the mid 40s, but after that you're going to need more than 2 charge shots, which equals about 4 arrows. Now obviously this thing doesn't have a clip, so you're going to be using 1 arrow right off the bat, and with a max ammo you're going to have 76 arrows in total with 75 arrows in reserve. This bow is a single shot weapon, but obviously it can do double shots with the charged ability. The RPM doesn't really matter. Up in those later rounds you're always going to want to use a charge shot, and on console and PC it's going to be easy to get your shot wherever you want it, unless you've got a horde of zombies around you, then it might be a little bit more difficult. And I found that shooting this thing at the ground in front of the horde of zombies is the best way to kill them. This thing has no recoil, and again, if it did, it wouldn't really be that much of a problem, because as soon as you're ready to shoot it again, it's going to be right back where it was. I didn't add the regular bow, and I thought about it for a second. Sure, it's the closest in appearance and effect to the fire bow, but again, it really doesn't fit the other bows. You're really not going to be using that one other than upgrading to other bows. Now moving on to my notes. My notes are basically what I forgot to mention and what I want to expand on from what I talked about earlier. Going back to the fire staff, early round, it's great. It's probably one of the best early round other than the wind staff. It takes out panzers really well, kills zombies effectively, and has great mobility. A minor downside, which I think could only help this weapon, is if it had more ammo. And not in the base version, I could really care less about that, but in the upgraded one. Unlike every other staff, for some reason, the fire staff can't do a 3-charge shot. It'll always do 1, 2, or 6, never in between 2 or 6, which makes the ammo in this thing just disappear. However, it does come with everything else. The melee upgrade, that's a 1-shot until round 18. On round 18, it'll take 2 shots, and it also comes with Sekhmet's Vigor, the revive shot at the end of the staff. Like I said in the last video, it does infinite damage and can kill up to 3 zombies per shot, but that's only if you're really lucky. You're most likely going to get 1 to 2 kills, so that's about 5 to 9 kills every max ammo, which isn't the best, but considering most people just write this secondary ability off, like I do a lot of the time, it's pretty decent. Building and upgrading could potentially take the longest depending on your game. Lately I've been able to get every staff done and at least 2 upgraded before I even get the last part for the fire staff. This is due to the first panzer holding and dropping the final staff piece, and he will always spawn on round 8 as long as you have no man's land open up before that. One final note, this staff has a huge problem. In Black Ops 2, the fire staff lagged you out of the game, reaching round 60. I assume this was due to the console or map limitation, but when Origins V2 came around, it did the same exact thing, except this time it gave you a bit more time to use it. Any round past round 65, it's really unsafe to use this thing, but for early rounds and even the Panzer Step and the Easter egg, it's a really good call. One of the best. And finally, for the firebow. I'll say this right now, but the firebow is the worst bow by far. It and the void do similar damage, but in those later rounds, the void bow will affect more zombies. I will admit it's the hardest bow to upgrade, but for some reason on PC, for me at least, it's really easy. The only tough part was shooting the stone down in the rocket launch area, seeing as you have to wait for the rocket to go off and then shoot a specific spot on the stone. And if you're surprised by this gameplay, you're not alone. I was surprised with how accurate I was able to be on PC too. On console, it's a lot more difficult. There are a few tricks I did and didn't use, and I'll leave a link down in the description to a Glitching Queen video that really helped me out back around the time when this map first came out. Trust me, it makes things a lot easier. There's not really much more to say about this weapon. It's pretty good at taking out panzers along with the void bow. If you're hoping to wreck zombies with this in the later rounds, you're better off crafting the wolf or storm bow. Oh, and last thing, more of a fun fact. The fire staff and the firebow have the same sound when it comes to their single shots. This doesn't really play into how I compare them, I just thought I might increase your zombies knowledge if anything. In conclusion, the firebow and fire staff are some of your worst options on their respectable maps. They are going to do some work, but all in all, there are definitely better options, even in the box on these maps. In my opinion, these weapons are equal. Let me explain. The fire staff is definitely much better on the earlier rounds. It kills panzers quicker, it kills zombies quicker, and in my opinion, it saves your butt a lot more. However, the fire staff does have that factor of lagging you out of your game, and anything that will end your game is probably really bad. So about round 40 is when the firebow really takes over. Having the ability to kill zombies with more ammo and not glitch you out of your game is a big plus. Without the fire staff glitching you out of your game, I think it would still be a very close call. Anyways guys, that is going to be it for the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. If you have any suggestions for comparisons and future videos, let me know down in the comments below. I just bought World at War, and for those of you who don't know, you get every single map when you buy the game, and I think that's awesome, so I can play Doris without actually having to pay 15 bucks for it, which would have been crazy, but I probably still would have paid for it. Anyways, guys, that is going to be it for the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Comment down below what weapons you want to see in the next Zombies weapon comparison, and until then, peace.